Ranbir Kapoor is in conversation with me. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Hrishi. Really pleasure to be on your show.
I want to start with the difference between regular boxing and prize fighting, which is what your character does in Bombay Velvet. What is the difference, and how did you pick up nuances of it? We want to know.
The character Johnny Balraj is not a boxer because, as we know, in 50s, 60s, the sport of boxing hadn't reached India. So there was these cage fights, these underground cage fights where people used to go and take out their frustration, make money, get beaten up. There was a bit of a nasha in that also, just to pick a fight with someone. So I did take some MMA training for that. Fortunately for me, I hate going to the gym and making a body, and Anurag didn't ask for me to make six packs and big bulging biceps. He wanted me to be lean, somebody who's a roadside street fighter who just picks up a fight on a impulse. So it was interesting. It was very different from the other characters I have played. But that is just something that the character does. I think too much is being made to the fact that I'm playing this boxer come street fighter in the film, but that's just a facet of the character.
Does it worry you, because Anurag says it publicly, that this role actually went around to a lot of people and ultimately it was destined to be yours? Does it worry you that it went to a lot of people? Do you know of it? Talk about that.
Absolutely. I'm aware of this film since 8 years. People have been trying to get it on floors, and I really have the faintest idea why it didn't materialize. But even the way the film came to me, Vikas Bell, who's the director of Queen, who's the producer of the film, he gave me the script while I was traveling to Delhi, and I read it on the flight. As I landed, I called up Anurag and I said, I've just read Bombay Velvet and I really want to be a part of it. And he himself didn't know the film was offered to me. So I offered the film to myself and told him about it. And he said, give me 2-3 days, because I really don't see you in this part. So let me kind of figure it out. And he called me after 2-3 days and said, yes, I think we can work this out. So it as an actor, you read scripts and you feel, okay, this has something artistic in it. This has a commercial value to it. And this will do well, it'll reach a larger audience. But I genuinely felt that Bombay Velvet had a landscape, had a world, had a story which is also artistic, which has good intentions, a good story, good characters, but also has an engaging commercial aspect attached to it. It's a very Hindi film story. So these were, the certain scripts which you just connect with. You connect with a character and you want to be a part of. And I think more than just working with Anurag Kashyap, it was the kind of script he had written.
Let's talk about the music. It's just spectacular. We've been exposed to Fifi. There's another song which is going to be released. Two different music directors. Amit Trivedi's done the predominantly the score and the soundtrack of the film. But the first one is Mikey McCleary, and it's got a very old cabaret feel to it. Talk about the song. Did you know that it was an Open Air song which was redone? The involvement.
Absolutely. I think let's start with the music of Bombay Velvet, which is, of course, music director is Amit Trivedi, who spent a lot of time in New Orleans, trying to understand jazz, the way the world of jazz is, got musicians from Prague, recorded live in Chennai. Bombay Velvet is not your Hindi song and dance kind of songs. The character of Rosie Narona, played by Anushka Sharma, is a jazz singer in a jazz club which used to exist in a place like Bombay in those times. So the music had to be authentic. Where that song Fifi comes from, it's an old Gita, that song from CID, which was actually banned at that time because people didn't know the meaning of the word Fifi and they thought it was vulgar. So Anurag had a great idea of actually incorporating into this situation where Rosie starts singing in these CD nightclubs, trying to make a career, and her slower progression to the big Bombay Velvet jazz singer. The other songs by Amit Trivedi, which is Mohabbat Buri Bimari, Darban, sung by Papon. So it's very true to the to the jazz era, very true to the time that the film is shot in 50s, 60s Mumbai. We didn't want to make songs just to appeal to the the newest sensibilities of music lovers. Try to transport them to the time and era of 1960s jazz Bombay. So I think music plays an important part, but at the same time, it is not your regular Bollywood sing and dance routine.
I know you're deeply passionate about music recording because during Rockstar's time, you're actually in the studio with Rahman Saab, with Mohit. If you were playing Rosie's part, you would be doing that. I mean, you're not playing Rosie's part. I mean, you're playing some other part. But just out of curiosity, were there any studio visits in this one? Did you or do you know how Amit Trivedi functions? I mean, he seems to be such an interesting, quirky character.
No, unfortunately, I didn't because I think because I was not musically involved in the film and as a character, I stayed away from it. But I was very much aware of the scratches that he was making. He made some 300 songs, prohibition songs, different songs of that time. And it's really fascinating, to hear such talented music directors. I've seen Rahman work, I've seen Pritam work, really closely. But Amit Trivedi is somebody who's really, you don't have a full sense of him yet because he's got so much of talent. He experiments with new sounds. He breaks forms of how a generic Hindi song is, of the antara, mukhda. He completely breaks that. And I think that's very interesting. I still feel that Amit Trivedi is still finding himself as a musician. And I think that's a great quality. He's still really raw and he's still so unexpected. Like you never know what to expect from an Amit Trivedi album.
Talk to me of Sri Lanka. Lots of this film has been shot out there. Such a beautiful country. I remember traveling there last year and going to places like Gaul and Hambantota and really thinking of them as paradise. And you've recreated large parts of Bombay there, I believe. So a bit about Sri Lanka.
Well, Sri Lanka has been just the greatest shooting experience for me. We shot 40 days in Colombo. The Colombo streets still have that old British colonial feel, which was closer to 50s Bombay. So we didn't have to create all of that. We could use the real streets. The government was really kind enough for us to, shoot anywhere that we wanted. Then we shifted to a place next to Gaul called Yala, where we created the entire set of Bombay Velvet and streets of Bombay. And we really felt as actors that we were living in 1950s. The kind of work that the set designer put in, the cinematographer put in, the costume designer, the director. I think so much of hard work was put in that it became so easy for us actors to feel that we were in that era. The kind of cars that were used, real vintage cars, the guns, the Tommy guns were imported from Germany, the costuming, the glasses, the mics, the sound, everything was so believable that we felt real, and that inherently translates for the audience to actually connect with this world, and there's a believability in what we were doing.
How good an actor is Karan Johar, and what can we look forward to? You have to tell us the ringside view that you had.
Well, Karan Johar is by far one of the best actors I've worked with, because as you know, Karan Johar's personality, he's a master of everything. He's producing, directing, talk show host, fashion designing, jewelry designing. He's done everything. So when he came as an actor, just to kind of subtract all of that and just be this person trying to surrender to a part, surrender to Anurag's vision, such a hard job, especially when you have such a strong personality and you're coming from such a strong place. But I think Karan Johar just let all of that go, and it was such a hard part because he's playing the antagonist and he's playing the villain, which comes with certain gravitas. He's not the villain who's doing the dishum kind of villain. He's the villain which is manipulative, which is a villain in the mind, trying to instill greed in his toy boy, which he makes me, and trying to destroy him and destroy his love story. So I think he's done such a wonderful job at it. And because I know him so well, I've been so friendly with him. Working with him, I always thought would be a riot and we'd be laughing. But we just really believed in our parts, believed in Anurag's vision, and we just had a great artistic time on this film.
It's very easy to just talk about the lead pair and talk about the villain, but I want to talk about the entire ensemble cast. I mean, I see snatches of Siddharth Basu, the television producer, director. I see bits of Satyadeep. Talk about the other actors, because in a film like this, if you're recreating the 40s and the 50s, the other characters are as important as the lead character.
Absolutely. I think it's the film depends a lot on the ensemble casting of the film. Satyadeep plays my friend Shimon, who plays a really important part in the film. Manish Chaudhary plays Jimmy Mistry, Karan plays Khambata, KK plays the cop, Vivan, who's Nasir Sir's son, plays Tony, the driver. So all these parts were such interesting parts that Anurag didn't know, because we were improvising so much and every character was fleshing out so much that invariably first cut of the film was 4.5 hours, because everything was so interesting. But I think working with these actors who believed so much in their craft, in this world, is so exciting, and it's so even the process of Anurag while making this film was, he takes this cast and he asks us, what do we want to do? So we used to run the entire scene like a theatre play, and he and Rajiv, who's the cameraman, used to shoot the film, and we had no idea where the camera was. If it was a close-up, it was a wide shot, if it was a track, we had no idea. We as actors were just believing in the moment and just playing it, organically. And I think that process was really enriching to work with actors like Satyadeep, who's become such a close friend of mine, Manish, Karan. And having said that, like Siddharth, Karan, KK, Manish, they're playing real life characters. Of course, we've altered their names, but they are characters which really existed in Bombay. They're based on them. It's a fictitious love story based in a real life event. So yeah, the whole making process of the film was really exciting.
Filming a book is a very difficult thing. Did he tell you that there's this book called, what is it called? Bombay Fables by Gyan Prakash. Did you lay your hands on the book? How did that work?
Mr. Gyan Prakash was a big part of the pre-production as well as the production. He was on set for a good 30 days. But the book is just the world of Bombay Velvet. The story of Bombay Velvet is completely fleshed out originally by Anurag, Vasan, and another gentleman's name who I'm forgetting right now. So Anurag was very clear that he didn't want me to attach myself to the character which is written in the book, because that was very different from what the journey that he wrote. But yes, Gyanji was part of shooting, just to make things authentic, a certain character from the cars to the guns, like I said, just to make sure we had the correct historian on set who would guide us and make us believe that what we were doing seemed authentic.
Who's your go-to person when a script wraps up? Is it just your gut feel? Do you get somebody to read it? Do you get Ayan or Anurag or Imtiaz to give you some insights into it? Or you just take a decision solely as Ranbir Kapoor?
I do take the decision solely as me, but I always, when I like something, just for a second opinion, I'll give it to Ayan, I give it to my mother, Katrina. I give it to Katrina. So I get feedback, and most of the times, they don't like it, but I try to make some sense to it, like why I connected to it. Yeah, but mostly I take the calls myself.
There's some amazing VFX in the film. I mean, the trailer and the teaser shows either Eros or Regal recreated. So, just a view into the making of Bombay Velvet. I mean, you must know what went into it in terms of VFX.
There's too much of hard work, just to create the 50s Bombay, apart from the sets, even the VFX of, the docks, the big ship, creating Bombay streets, the cars, VT station, all of that takes a lot of time, and that's why we had to also push the release of the film, because we just wanted to make everything in the best way possible, that when people see this film they understand that yes, this film can truly represent the city they live in, the time, the era gone by extremely truthfully, and not take really undue cinematic liberties with it. There has to be a sense of authenticity attached to it.
So, Johnny Balraj, what is he and who is he really, and what happens to him without giving too much of the story away?
Well, Johnny Balraj is just consumed by the desire for the brightest of futures. All he wants to do in life is be a big shot. He falls in love with this girl Rosie, and he believes that the only way that she's going to love him back is that he becomes this big shot, has a big car, has a big job, and he falls into the trap of all the wrong people. You see, this film is set at a time when Bombay, the 7 islands of Bombay had filled up, and the money was in land, and now none of the land was left. So what do? You start filling water, which was the reclamation area, where they started filling the reclamation area, the water with land, and all the politicians and the businessmen and the land mafia started, and that's where really the money was in Bombay at that time. So it's his greed to be part of it, to grow bigger, to become richer. He's someone who's grown up in Falkland Road, had a mother who's a prostitute who runs away, taking his everything that he had earned. So there's a lot of like burnt up intensity, burnt up passion, burnt up hurt, which is inside him, and all that really comes out in a way through his love story, and the way to prove to Rosie that he can be the man that he thinks that she wants him to be.
I was reading somewhere you went to the Lee Strasberg School. Does that mean you're a method actor? Does that mean you spend a lot of time on your character becoming the character, or are you still able to be completely spontaneous and impulsive? Which is Ranbir the actor?
To be honest, I shouldn't be saying this, but I really feel Lee Strasberg is hogwash. I don't believe in that kind of method acting unless you practice it for a long period of time. I think the experience living in New York was far more richer and far more greater than just going to a school or an acting institute. Yes, it's great that you meet actors and you're in a practical way, you're doing scenes and plays and stuff, but I don't think method can be learned. I think an actor over a period of time develops his own method. I really can't tell if I'm instinctive, spontaneous, or I have a method. But I do believe that what's important to me is to marry the director's mind, to really understand the director, especially if he's the writer of the script, as in how he's written this and what he wants from this. Because at the end of it, I'm portraying it. I'm the one who's adding my vulnerability, my emotions to the character. But there is no method as such. I don't really go and live myself like a hobo if I'm playing that. I feel that there is a sense of imagination that I have out of my experiences in the world, emotional experience in the world, that I can add to my films.
How's the football going? Sujit Sarkar was in my studio talking about Piku, and he was so passionate about his football. It was just coming out of his eyes. You're a Barca fan. Do you get to practice enough?
Every Sunday, and Shujit sir and me, we play every Sunday. He actually injured himself very badly a month back. He fell on his head and he passed out. But yeah, I'm a big Barcelona fan. Now I have my own club, Mumbai City Football Club, which has been a dream come true. We've already started work on our second season. We didn't have a great first season, but always just the endeavor is just to give Mumbai City a club that they can call their own. We've all been fans of the Barcelonas, Real Madrids, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea's, but just to have a league of our own, and have our own players, own domestic players, see our own country reach the World Cup, I think is a dream that we all have, especially football lovers, and I hope that we can achieve that through this league.
Can you just be the regular boy and still call your mates over and watch a football game? Does that happen enough, or are you just too busy to do that?
I do that all the time. Seeing the Sunday Manchester United, Manchester City game, I had my friends over. We have big FIFA players on PS3. We have leagues that we have tabulated scores since the last 15 years, away goals, home goals, wins, everything. So, that never changes, that's what really excites you in life, and that's really what gives you true happiness.
I want to talk about your directors now. Here's Anurag, who's you've obviously got a special corner for, because you're also doing a production with him. Are you co-producer on Jaga Jasus, or just you the producer?
No, actually, I always believe that, if I produce a film, I'll always co-produce with the director, because the director has to have an incentive that the film is as much as his, because I don't believe in taking full control, because all I'm doing is acting. I feel a director produces a film more than an actor produces a film. So I'm not really looking for it as monetary gain. I'm looking for it just to collaborate with a cinematic mind, where we can do something that we both believe in and make the films that we want, and not have any studio on our head, or not have any pressures. And I think that's what's important, that, we can tell a story in our own simple way.
So let's talk about Imtiaz, let's talk about Anurag Kashyap, and of course Anurag Basu. They're different methods, and of course Mr. Bansali, who's like a mentor to you.
Yeah, I've always believed that I'm only as good as the director of my film, or as the story, or as the character that's offered to me. My first director was Mr. Bansali, who was really a hard taskmaster. He really grounded me. He taught me so much about music, acting, songs, performances. Really took 2 years in grooming Sonam and me. And even though the film was a big disaster, I am today is because of Mr. Bansali and his grooming. Then I had the good opportunity to work with directors like Shimit, an old timer like Rajkumar Santoshi, a first time director like Ayan Mukherjee, who's become my closest friend and my closest, I would call my closest cinematic partner. Somebody who we dreamed together, and we're making this film together, which is a mythological film which he wants to spend 10 years of his life with. It's a trilogy set in contemporary times. With Imtiaz, I worked on a film called Rockstar, which gave me so much, so much of recognition, so much of love, so many awards. A film I did with Mr. Basu called Barfi, which was just improvised. We didn't have a script, we just had instances, and he's a mad guy, and he just wants, there's so much of love that he has to give his actors, and the movies that you just ride the flow. With Anurag Kashyap, there's this crazy guy who's just getting the right talents together and just trying to create something which is breaking the norm. At the same time, he's such a Hindi film lover. He has this perception that he is this rebel and just tries to make these intense dark films, but actually he is a true Hindi film buff. He's written films like Satya and Shool, and if you go and see, at the heart of it, they are the heartland Indian film stories. I just finished my second film with Imtiaz called Tamasha. Again, it's something, a film which is very close to his heart, about being who you should be and not being who people expect you to be. Interesting film called Tamasha with Deepika and myself. With Anurag, I'm doing Jagga Jasoos, which is our take on Indiana Jones meets Tintin in a musical format. So we're trying to break form and structure, trying to create films which we believe in, which we like to watch on screen, and not really cater to. I made a mistake in a film like Besharam, because we took audience for granted. Me and Abhinav, we thought that, okay, let's make a masala film. We'll say 5 big dialogues, have songs, play this ultra heroic character, and we'll fly, because I was riding with the success of Rockstar, Barfi, and Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. But that doesn't work. You can't take your audience for granted. So you rather do what you believe in. You rather put in the work with things you understand and things that appeal to you and you connect with. And invariantly, if the intention, everything is honest and truthful, I believe that it'll always work in the theatres.
Last couple of questions. What went wrong with Roy, Ranbir? Have you grieved over it? It's important. The grieving process is also important. Have you bounced back? Have you thought of it? Like you have a pointer on what went wrong with Besharam, with Roy.
With Roy, I really don't have a take on it, because I solely did Roy because Vicky is a childhood friend of mine. That lead role was offered to me, and I've seen that boy struggle for 10 years. So he came to me and said that my film is not being made, and if you do a part in it, I'll get a budget to make it. Which I understood that, you cannot work just for friendship, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't really pay attention to the script, to the character, to what he was making. I was just trying to help him start a career, and I think that really backfires, not just for me, but more for him, because now what does he do? I should have guided him and told him, like, this is not the film that we should have made. So yes, I understand I take the good qualities out of the debacle of Roy, but more for myself, because I feel that I have other opportunities. I hope that my friend Vicky, who's really talented, who's someone who I've shared all my dreams with all my life since the day I was born, I hope he gets another opportunity and he does well.
Pick one song from Bombay Velvet and pick one international song that you really like to round up.
One song from Bombay Velvet would be a song, right now it's on Fifi, which is actually an old Geeta Dutt song from CID. So I think that's the song I would pick. And an international song right now would be, I guess, from the Bastille new album. Do you play
Pompeii?
Yeah, Pompeii. Or Imagine Dragons new album. Or there's a song called Man Auto by Nu, N-U. That's something I can just make you hear it. I think it's a pretty cool song. Well, these kind of songs take time to start.
So who's doing the cooking at home now? Your partner Katrina or yourself, or you just order in?
Well, I have a chef. So unfortunately, I or her, we don't know how to cook. So he's and mostly because we both are actors, so we are not really having the rich Indian food. We're usually having diet food. So it's an easy meal to cook up.
Thanks for your time, Ranbir Kapoor.
Thanks, man. Pleasure being on your show.